Now, the topic is not so exciting, but is important from our perspective. So, and I think that was the reason why we inserted such a topic in our presentations, because we want to cover several aspects. And my goal here today is specifically raise or talk about the concerns you can have eventually to move to the cloud your GRC system. Because we are all dealing with sensitive data. There are privacy, security things that everyone is considering, plus there is the cloud environment that is an important. But there are also benefits, and so I wanted to address what could be the overall perspective. First of all, we are running on our MetricStream cloud, but we are also running on AWS and Azure, okay? And is transparent to our clients. We provide a standard cloud with all the security requirements, single instance per each customer, possibility to, encryption of the data that are transitioning to the application, but also possibility to encrypt the database. We are following all the standards in terms of cloud, allowing penetration test on the platform, so that coverage has been done for our customers that are already running on the cloud in an extended way. By the way, 2/3 of our 300 clients are already on the cloud. And our intention is to move the remaining one to the cloud because we provide a simplified approach in terms of maintenance, upgrades, eventually environments to be prepared. And so there are several components that we consider relevant. All our products and in the main 3 streams are running on a platform that is running on the cloud. So everything is connected also because of the platform and the environment. Now, there are some European regulations specifically that were raised by other customers due to the fact that they have security implications that they wanted to verify if we were ready or not. One last that appeared in one of the conversation with one of our clients was the SHRIMS 2, and I think you know, but the Court of Justice in the European Union published a judgment in the Data Protection Commission against Facebook that resulted, and is called this SHRIMS 2. In the judgment, the Court of Justice declared the EU-US Privacy Shield invalid, okay? And that created some concern or, let's say, possible mismatch in the transition of data from EU and US, but also in the possibility that people can access systems outside the European Union. Now, what the reality is that we are already hosting EU customers both in the financial sector and in other sectors in our cloud. We are compliant also with the SHRIM 2 restrictions. And so that the message I wanted to give, we are prepared to onboard other customers independently, taking into consideration that regulation. If you have any question, please ask, because I want to proceed with a clear picture. And yeah, sure, please.
Practically, what does that mean? We have to separate our US and European data?
Or not really is well, you cannot access from US European data unless there are specific security controls internally provided. Yes. So one of the points was where do we have our data centers supporting the cloud? Because if it was US, we cannot provide all the European clients support to move to the cloud.
So Marco, we can add one example. So for example, we use the credit cards, right? When we swap, all these data, you're not sure which server it resides. So earlier, these servers were technologically driven or the based on, so US maximum, right? Now regulations are coming where government are saying, even my customer data, you have to store within the region. And that is where the cloud is also deployed within the region. So they have a multiple servers, make sure that the regional data stores within the region servers, not the across.
We don't really store a lot of personal data.
Right, that's the other point. No, it is really depending on the data that you store. And in reality, in the GRC system, with the exception of the data of the users, we do not store data of clients or personal data that are, so that's the other consideration that we need to have. And eventually, if any private data, we can store and apply different procedures to keep it. But those considerations were something that we need to, let's say, follow up and understand with each client moving to. Another important area is the transatlantic data privacy framework, mainly because it provides strong obligations for companies processing data transfer from EU
Cloud.
to other regions, even to our support in India. That was the other aspect that we should consider, because our supporting people are working from India and eventually they need access to the system. So that was another area that we tried to, we responded to get properly done. Now, you probably all know that there is a new data privacy in Switzerland, the Swiss Federal Data Protection Act, that will be, let's say, ready and to be applied from 1st of September 2023. So that's another, let's say, restriction on the usage of data, more or less is similar to the GDPR. So if you have already implemented the GDPR, let's say, protection of the data, there is no much difference, but it will go into effectiveness from 1st of September in 2023, and we will be ready to support also the Swiss Federal Data Protection. By the way, we have already customers in Switzerland, currently in Azure, because Microsoft was available in Switzerland, and from September this year, so the past September, also AWS opened a data center in Switzerland. So that additional possibility is also available now in Switzerland. Now, I wanted to touch briefly these three different, let's say, regulations because have implication on how we manage data and our environments, where we put the backup, for instance, where we put our, let's say, production environment, etc. Now, MetricStream Cloud, compared to other systems or other providers, is using a modern and secure GRC cloud, but mainly on several aspects that I consider very important. It is a single tenant architecture. So every customer has a dedicated instance with their data, eventually their customizations, not impacted or affected by other clients. So we are not sharing, for sure not data, but not even the customizations or environments that you have in the different instances. That's an important part because other providers have on the cloud in the same instance are managing multiple customers. Then there is, for that reason, high capability of configuring the cloud and the environment. Is easy to update, to migrate. So a lot of, let's say, what you are currently concerned about, the maintenance, the migration, the upgrades, is performed from our perspective in an easier mode because we are able to support you in the evolution on the cloud in a faster way. So I think moving to the cloud provides you, but also us, an operation simplification or improvement that will result in less cost for both of us to handle everything. Is a secure cloud by design? Here is the list of features that I think are relevant, but eventually I share the presentation, but I let you go through. Data protection and encryption. Encryption also that we allow with an additional feature on the database. So we are able also to encrypt your data on the database, not only on the transactions. There is application security. There is a periodic vulnerability assessment. So everything that requires from a compliance perspective that you test your GRC environment has been adopted and is open for audit and penetration test. Okay, privacy and regulatory standards and compliance are applied to our cloud. Last important aspect, we have several clients having multiple deployments. And this, I was dealing with an international client having in US and South America several different instances. Now dealing with the aligning all these systems with the DFS, different environment, and keeping the migration consistent across the entire organization is a painful process. Now having everything on the cloud could simplify this environment in our single cloud. The cloud and what we are offering as a standard cloud provides you 3 environments: production, UAT, and development are included. There are service level, let's say, standards that we provide to our customers. There are a number of points that are mentioned here that I think are important. One that eventually is not always considered, but I think is relevant, is the storage capacity that is unlimited. So no issue in terms of storage, performance, etc. And in the past years, we experienced with our clients a proper usage of the cloud. Now, we have also built a workshop, is a one-day cloud transformation workshop where we eventually evaluate with your data what is the benefit of moving to the cloud. Here we need to enter into your data, meaning what are the number of servers, etc., used now, eventually the cost for migration, and whatever is linked to the maintenance of the application. But that exercise could provide you the business value and calculation to support internally this decision. I think that's important. There are several benefits, but let me say also the evolution of our platform. Some of the analytical intelligence that you apply to the cloud and to your data, some of the capacity to integrate external content providers like compliance AI, some of the functions to monitor your system. These are available if you move to the cloud. Otherwise, we do not have that functionality on the on-premise because those systems are connected with AWS systems and functionalities, and so we take advantage of that environment to provide that additional value. Here I put a 50% lower total cost of ownership. You probably can evaluate this better than what we can do, but that's an average, what we have compared to other customer situations. Flexibility, because it's easy, migration data from one part to the other, and fingers crossed, in the last 3 years, 0 critical incidents on our cloud. I think that that's also an important element. We have one of the most secure clouds provisioning in the market, and has been so far well defined. Now, those are the elements. I think is not related to a technical component, but could be important. We have a strong partnership with AWS, so you can eventually license our licenses through AWS. We are a vendor certified by AWS, and that could provide eventually additional, let's say, not only an easy process to acquire our license, but eventually savings, because usually major companies are having large agreements with AWS that are linked to the consumption of the cloud. So we are partnering with them because of this point. Now, few slides now on what does it mean migrating from the on-premise to the cloud, and then open to questions.
Thanks, Marco. So obviously, once you have done the due diligence that you would have decided to move, the next question comes: what activity is required? What is the duration it requires to move to cloud, right? So to simplify that process, what we have done is we have split that activity into three. One is the validation. So it's a long process where customer asks a lot of questions based on security, where cloud, what services, right? When they made decision, we need to get into a contract. So we validate what we have discussed. The contract covers all those aspects, right? Then we also do a dry run, because we can't just directly go and if there are incidents happens. So we do a dry run, we take a backup of production, move that to the cloud, open it to the selective few people, and we also provide a checklist where they validate everything, certifies that yes, all data is there, all security measures are taken. Once they certify, that is where then the second process comes of the actual migration. Now this also involves a bit of planning, because migration normally we do over a weekend, and we prefer over a long weekend, because just for taking additional time in case something goes wrong, the additional day can be used. So over weekend or the long weekend is what we do the production movement. So once the production is done, there also a basic sanity, and then you're ready for go live, and post-production support continues. And the last process is the additional data. So once production is done, different customers have different environments. Some will have only UAT, some will have UAT, training and development environment. Those are also moved to the cloud. Any question here? Yep.
How can you say the migration drive on would be a long weekend? But
It's-
you don't know the volumes.
No, so it doesn't, this is a technical movement. We don't do data migration. It's your backup and the server's file which moves.
Okay.
Yeah, so during the preparation process, we also gauge what is the data volume, what size it will take. Those configurations are done during the planning phase itself.
And how does it work with downstream systems? You know, we have downstream systems, interfaces and things like that.
So in planning, those are taken care. So when we prepare checklist, when we do this dry run, the checklist covers like you have SSO, integrations, all those are also validated.
Okay, so the entire architecture.
Entire architecture, yes. So validation or the validation state when we do preparation, when we say all the measures, which is the security measures, what cloud offerings you are doing, what integrations are there, how those integrations will work, all those plannings are done there. Sure. Sure.
So, functionality, or are you going to cover that later? If you've had extensions and customizations.
All this moves along with. So when we do cloud movement, it's not like upgrade and all. We take the hard disk. For example, this is your hard disk, right? Entire hard disk move from on-premise to cloud. So whatever the content here, content remains there.
They explained to me, and I'm not thinking, it is a technical movement of the entire application.
Yes.
Okay?
So nothing is left behind.
Nothing. It's like,
So from a customization perspective, nothing is left behind. It's true that we need to check on the interfaces. So the links and the APIs to other systems need to be, but from a functional perspective on the GRC system is a technical movement.
So you can consider this way. The on-premise, the server box is there. It's physically moved to the cloud. We're not touching any content inside. It's that moment.
Junus, if we are saying something wrong, raise your hand.
Sorry.
No, I saw you.
No, you're right. So, and everything just will still work whenever.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah. So this slide typically, like in terms of the timeline, how it takes different activities. So typically it's like till the production server movement, it's like 8 to 9 weeks. But again, it may vary based on the number of instances you have. Like some customers will have only production and UAT, some will have production, UAT, training and development instances. Again, some customers will have only SSO integration, some will have more integration. So based on that planning, we do the adjustment of the timelines.
And how many people from your side would typically working, let's say,
On the movement.
yeah.
So it
Obviously,
depends.
it depends on the size. I
Size,
understand.
yes, but the cloud-
Let's say if you go for something bigger.
Yeah, it's like a team size of 4 to 5 technical guys. Yeah.
Okay.
Here all it's a technical guys.
So when you have got your interfaces and they're verified, is there, the worry is a lot of data volumes coming from the cloud back in-house
Yeah, so
to systems daily?
here what we're doing during the transformation, you are just changing the integration address because right now the server is in-house. So the integration address is addressed to the in-house server, right? When we move to the cloud, the address is moved to that cloud server. Remaining all functionality and the data volumes remain intact. So that doesn't impact.
Would that have any performance, doing that? Any performance problems on the interface?
Because all the source system or the target system remains same. It's only the metric system which is changing.
Here, I think the issue is due to the volumes in place, movement to the cloud, what are the performance implications?
Yeah.
And I think we need to verify this, but,
Yeah, but
we are
those- yeah.
dealing with very large instances on the cloud.
Correct. And those
Yes.
are part of the initial planning. When we configure the cloud instance, the data volumes, the size, the integration is taken care, and that's how the cloud size is allocated.
Yeah, I understand that for the installation, but it's the pipe in and out.
Exactly. So let's say your pipe size is fixed now. What we are not changing is the size. We are just changing the target, which is right now, let's say it's on address A, and now the cloud is moving to B. So this pipe is moved to B. Size is the same. Right. And there's the last part. So based on all the considerations, securities, features, number of instances, we work with you on the cost and the SOW or the documentation.
The real, yes.
Sure.
So you, all your examples show Oracle, what other database?
Currently, we are with the Oracle database. Yes.
But one first point is it will be transparent to you. So all the database and other system is on the cloud on our licenses. First point. Second, but this is a longer transition, we are moving out of Oracle. So that
the
would-
timing, which was like September 2023, is it? No, I'm not sure now.
Oracle?
Yeah.
Oh, that was for specific version. So Oracle also comes with the different versions, right?
So the exit strategy from Oracle, do you have a date already, or at least highly
No,
recommend?
let's ask to the next one coming here that is.
So plan is to become agnostic of database, not depending on any database. That's the plan we are moving forward.
Is it a short, medium, long-term plan?
It's a medium and long, because that will require a lot of technical development and all.
And medium plan is 3 years? Something like that?
I think let's wait for the right.
Joy will tell us.
Yeah.
in any case, on the cloud, it will be transparent to you. So it's a question of a business case for you, in terms of what is the current cost on license, support, hardware compared to the cloud cost. That's
I
it.
asked Joy, but maybe you know, AWS, do you know if they have actually database in Luxembourg?
In Luxembourg, we didn't check yet. I wanted to check and verify. But yes, you know that they open in Switzerland this year, so it's available in Switzerland.
Joy is actually presenting in the next session.
Yes, that
So
was
you say
I was
here-
No,
yes,
but I
yes.
asked a question already, so it just, I
Oh,
was just
okay, okay.
tapping on other resources in case, you know, they knew instead of Joy.
Yeah, he's doing a low-code, no-code presentation
Okay.
just in a couple minutes in this room. I think he said any other specific questions as well. Any other questions? Does it look the same?
Does it?
Look the same? Same interface? Or does it change in any way?
Yeah. We are not changing anything.
Yeah, interface remains same.
You wouldn't
Interface,
know, just
yeah.
the same. Okay.
Just the same. Then, I mean, our intention is once you're moved to the cloud, it will be simplified, the movement or the migration to the latest release. So, for instance, if you decide at a certain point to migrate to Euphrates, should be easier compared to a migration now done on premise.
So, just as an example, so if you're currently on Arno, yeah, so would you first then go to Euphrates or first go to the cloud and then Euphrates?
First to the cloud is a technical transition. Let me put you will suggest that. So it's a technical transition, so you can do on Arno or whatever release. Now, the combination of the two, so migrating to Euphrates and moving to the cloud, can have additional advantages in terms of simplification of some processes, eventually extension on some functionality that are available in Euphrates and not yet on Arno. And there are additional things that, in my mind, will be important to consider. You were saying
so
something.
these two are
more.
separate processes. One
Exactly,
is
I'm just asking now,
Separate.
do you do, does it matter which one you do first? Or is there an advantage doing first, let's say, one of that rather than the other?
It will depend based on the factors like what is the urgency if you have the current applications, which is like your license is expiring, or security measures. So based on that, we decide which is the priority, either to move to cloud first or upgrade first and then move to cloud.
A recent bank moved first to the cloud, and then they are now considering the upgrade to Euphrates. Why? Because in the cloud we are able to provide additional environments, testing, education, etc. in an easier way, and so that could simplify also the migration to the latest.
Yes.
It makes sense. You move first to cloud.
Cloud.
Yes, and then
Which you kill all the difficulties that you had moving
On
to
deployment
cloud,
and
then
aspects. Yeah.
Actually, you try to catch up on the latest.
on the latest.
On the latest upgrade.
That could be, I mean, from our perspective, is possibly the easier transition.
I'm even surprised that you would support cloud, not on the latest version. So you have actually, even your clients on the cloud can be
Yes.
on different versions?
Sure. Every client has a separate instance.
For you guys.
Yes, Paul, we guess. But on the other hand, I mean, first of all, we want to keep the same continuity on all clients, and you are in very different releases. The objective is, in a couple of years, bring everyone up to a real software as a service,
enforcing the upgrade.
consolidating everything in a platform, and then the upgrades will be automatically done. That's the overall vision that we have. How long it will take?
Yeah. No, but we have
The
improvised
shorter
a
the
lot.
better, but
Improvised a lot from compared to 6.x version to M7, and now the upgrade to earlier version to now version. There's a lot of improvement,
No,
and eventually
I
we'll
can
reach.
imagine.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that as long as you don't have the no-code
Yes.
completely enforced, you can't ask your clients to move to the latest version.
correct.
Yes.
Correct. That's a point. That's a point. So And in any case, currently having clients on premises or on is creating the same, let's say, effort from our side, or even worse, because we cannot understand solving an issue in a on-premise environment takes to us much more time. That's why we are pushing so hard also on this topic. I think, apart from our perspective also, if take a moment and consider the benefits from an economical point of view. Because in my mind, internally, the cost of keeping on-premise deployment is high compared to what we can offer.
And, let's say, you're then in the cloud, yeah, and you want to look at Euphrates, let's say.
Yeah.
How is that then? I mean, do you then install Euphrates in the dev environment, or how does it work then? I mean,
From implementation point of view?
yeah, exactly. No, I'm just interested. So you just imagine, you're in the cloud now, you want to move
Yeah,
to
so-
the next versionary.
Version.
How can you look at it, or how does it work then?
So we'll follow the similar implementation methodology. First deploy on the sandbox, the cloud itself.
Okay,
Right.
so the sandbox is also done with every customer has
Yes.
a sandbox, yeah?
Sure.
So as a part of our license, we provision 2 to 3 instances with customer. One is your sandbox, second is a production, and third could be training, optional, right? So all preliminary activity preparations are done on sandbox because iterations, setting up the right data. Once that is done, that is where then we configure production, move the relevant library data which are approved, and then open up so end
And then
user.
move also all the things, yeah, the libraries.
Yes.
Yeah, so
We
prepare-
have
You prepare the environment.
to prepare.
Yes.
We have
It's a complete environment.
no, and by the way, we have developed tools to clone one instance on another. So you can do automatically, let's say, a preparation of your pre-production, training, and whatever, no?
Now I'm asking a question. Do you also offer data anonymization?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Data.
so basically.
Yes, I know, I understand
Yeah,
so
so
perfectly
that's
the
my
question. I don't know, I think we can think about this. Not,
I tell you, because this
No,
is
sure.
really
Important,
it probably
important.
would make all the difference to us, yeah, because if we can
Good
take
point, good point,
production,
good point.
anonymize
And then
that
clone
way
it. Yeah,
in the
good,
cloud
very
for
good point.
testing, that would be
Yeah,
perfect.
sure.
So just something you could.
I'll remember
Sure.
this for sure because it is an important item. I know that we are long, so Simran, sorry.
Apologies.
But
We move to the next section. Please save the rest of your questions for the man of the hour.
Joy, you should answer some of the
Hard
questions.
for him.
But some of the questions you should answer because we weren't able, Joy, to answer some of the questions. So if you, because one point, I hear, no.
We are on thank you slide.
Hmm?
We are on thank you
No, you can switch to the other, but that'll take my. So one of the questions was if we plan to move out from Oracle dependency, and what is the timeline, etc., and how do you see this? And I think you are most appropriate.
So Oracle is the best RDMS in the world. Why do you want to move? But I understand your concern. So there are different angles of looking at it. First of all, if we are really buying a SaaS product, right?
Lunar, it's in the case when you buy the system.
Okay, there you go. Okay, now I get the question. Right. Because we had the discussion about SaaS yesterday. So if you don't buy the SaaS, our journey is, say basically I'll be very brutally honest. We have written a lot of code which is in PL SQL, Oracle-like language, proprietary language, right? We have, in Euphrates 1, we have retired a huge chunk of it. That's why we implement the low-code, no-code as one of the reasons, right? And we'll talk about that. But you'll see in one of the slides we are talking about like retirement of low-code, the PL SQL. But we do have some amount of PL SQL already there, which we need to work on to retire. If you ask me honestly, it will take us almost a year and a half to get completely out of Oracle. We want to be there, right? Also, there's a intermediate ground there where you can use RDS, which is AWS's Relational Database Services, right? Which supports Oracle. So we can actually use that version, right? Which is, if you have to use that, then we can move tomorrow. Okay. So there are some short terms and longer terms, stepping stones we can take. And then the third option is to getting complete out of Oracle. Our recommendation is to move to Postgres. That's what we feel. It's an open source software. It's getting much more popular. But if you really ask me longer term, we don't want to be in relational at all. We want to move to graph, which you already have, and move beyond graph database. So today we have Mongo database, MongoDB, where we store the relationship between the objects. That has been taken out from Oracle. We have retired almost 50% of our code, PL SQL code, right?
How many percent?
50% already retired with this. Going forward, if you are on Euphrates and Euphrates++, all of your extensions and I don't want to use the word customization, but customizations will be using low-code, no-code, which would mean that you will be not using PL SQL, right? So any new customers who are coming on board, right, or are doing an upgrade and going to be in this version, you'll already see a significant reduction of your PL SQL code, if you will. So I gave you a longer answer, but I'm trying to be honest. We don't want to overpromise by saying that we can move to Postgres tomorrow. There are certain dependencies we have, but those are the kind of options we have. But we would definitely want customers to be on SaaS model, where we take the whole ownership in terms of maintaining the data. For you, it's basically using APIs to interact.
So just one second. In case we are not on SaaS, it's a 1 year and a half, 2 years.
For us to completely move, yeah.
I didn't understand too much on the shortcut with AWS.
So AWS has a RDS service, which is Relational Data Services, Database Services, right? Which actually, within that, they support Oracle. Okay. So for you, you can say to the company that, well, we have moved to AWS RDS. And you're not restricting so your licensing is more with AWS rather than with Oracle. I think that's what we want to do. But I also want to share a quick fact. When I was City, we had this whole venture. We want to get out of Oracle because Oracle came back and said, well, this is how much you have to pay, right? And we were very upset about it. We also issued a company-wide mandate that we want to get out of Oracle. Guess what? After a year and a half, the whole thing reversed. They came back with a licensing agreement and things became cheaper and whatnot. So basically everybody's under the pressure, right? So that may also happen, but I'm not saying it will happen in UBS. But all I'm saying is we have a roadmap laid out, right? We do not want to be tied to any particular software vendor, if you will, right? And that's how we are trying to take our approach. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, Joy, to
No, it's okay.
and thank you so much
Thank
for
you. And
your questions.
Still, if you have further questions, yes.
We'll follow up
Follow.
on the. Thank you.